I'm rolling. That means we're rolling. All right, we got threes, we have twos, we got ones. That means we're back in action. Say something, fam. Welcome back, Mitch. Good to see you. I'm happy to be here. We got Reek behind the camera as always. That means this is a family ting. So welcome back. As you know, we love to start these with our check-ins. So we're gonna rock and roll right into that before we get to anything else. So take time. If you're with people, just check in, make sure everybody's good, everybody's copacetic, and then get ready for some awesome content today. So, Mitch, how's everything going? Let the people know.
Everything's going great. Had a good weekend. All-Star weekend was cool to watch. Actually went out of town for a little bit, so I caught a lot of the highlights.
There we go.
But it was nice to get away, enjoy some time just away from work, away from the struggles out here. And just relax a little bit. But I'm ready to get back at it. I know it's been a while, but we're ready and we got a lot for you guys.
Absolutely. I myself, I'm in good spirits. School's back in, so the grind is back in full effect. Got me new vehicle, so that was a great feeling. I've Tesla'd up. No, I don't want to talk about Elon. I've already had a couple people ask me. It has nothing to do with where I voted. You know what I mean? I'm not rocking with no politics on this show. But I do like the Tesla, and I am happy with that. And it's just really just a weight off my shoulders. Yeah. So more than anything, it's like we've been talking about on this show, little things getting checked off, bada bing, bada boom. When they're all there, it can be overwhelming. But as you start knocking them off, man, things start getting a little more clear. Yeah. So it's awesome to give those updates. And it's awesome because sometimes I look back on the shows and I'm like, man, I had so much on my plate here. Oh, man, here is when I've got this done. Oh, man, things started knocking off. And it's fun to watch it in that time, that kind of chronological order as well through the show. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm just ready to talk about sports. I'm a little shocked at our agenda with the fact that it is so
There's
full
so much to cover.
and so all over the place because of the little gap we took, but for reasons that, as Mitch has explained, and as I will explain as we get on the show, were, righteous and much needed. And we'll make sure we make up for it in today's show. So, NBA trade deadline, that happened. Guys, we're sorry. We were telling you guys, some of the things that were happening in the build-up. But surely we missed some of the biggest, used to be Woj bombs. Now they're Sham bombs. I don't know if he's found a better trademark yet for that. But let's talk a little bit about it. Should we start with the largest explosion and then move our way to the home team, or should we do it?
Yeah, let's start with the away and then move on to the home time.
Fair game. So, with Mitch deciding that means we're talking Luka to the Lakers. That means we're talking AD to the Mavs. That means we're talking one of the biggest shockers, biggest blockbusters, biggest what is happening on a Saturday night that the NBA has ever offered its fans. Do you want to give your first take? Do you want to take a swing at this? I mean, it is so much.
I just can't believe it, honestly. It really doesn't make any sense. I mean, it happened so long ago now that it's just seeing it, how it's played out so far, it's not even that much of a surprise because it's playing in exactly how it has been in the past. AD is somebody who's going to give you a 25, 15, and 6.5 and then be hurt for 3 months. So I don't know what the Mavs were thinking. I get it. They want to get a big man in there who could complement as well on defense to Kyrie, but to get an injury-plagued guy and then remove a cornerstone, international superstar in Luka Doncic at such a young age, it really didn't make any sense. And there must have been some deals under the table or something going on because, I mean, the Lakers – their family makes money off of the Lakers. So it's it makes total sense that they're trying to get the next big thing after getting LeBron. But the Mavs, I mean, yeah, it doesn't make any sense as a franchise to have traded for the guy and then now you're going to go back and say, oh, he was kind of going to be a liability. We weren't sure if we wanted to give him the new contract. It's like that didn't make sense. It's kind of like Ant Edwards just said. It's like he puts up 30, 10, and 10. I don't care if he weighs 300 pounds. Like I'm gonna take that guy. It's pretty good. So it was a very shocking trade. It was very NBA 2K like.
Right.
So I just thought it was crazy. Everybody wants something like that happening. I feel like it's the most shocking thing since KD coming to the Warriors.
Definitely. I even think it honestly tops that, just because it's like KD was a free agent. So his choice was going to be pretty shocking if it was anything other than the Thunder. And this is like, I mean, it just brought up so many questions across the board about what are we looking at as a product in the NBA. Now, because you've already touched on a little bit of the, the actual who went and who stayed aspect of this trade. Nobody really stayed, but who the new players are going which way. I will say, on top of everything else, this could be, and you mentioned a little bit to this could be an Adam Silver masterclass, right? Like NBA is struggling with viewership and with attendance and all this stuff. Selling, everything has been down across the board. And then you look at, the All-Star game, all these other things, which we'll talk about here in a second, but they don't have a lot of things going for them in terms of boosting something that is a dying product. And I can't say that it didn't cross my mind. You mentioned it in terms of the value of the Lakers to the league, what that means to the league when they're successful, what it means when they're popular. And, when it first went down, it was hard for me not to look at this new ownership as one using this as a defining moment to separate themselves from Mark Cuban, right? Who is now no longer in charge.
Right.
He still has 27%, but it's not minority ownership anymore, or majority ownership anymore. I think it is, or I can't remember which one. But needless to say, he's not calling the shots. And so there's a part of that might be in it. And then there's also the part of it where you go, or it could be this new ownership kind of taking a deal with the NBA, and who knows what that would entail.
Right.
But agreeing as part of their entry into this, league that, okay, yeah, we'll keep this product alive for you. You want us we still need some things back, but we're willing to play, basically. Because otherwise it just seems very far-fetched. It seems hard to believe that things could go downhill that quickly with the organization. And to speak again to some things that you've already brought up, I thought it was ridiculous for Nico Harrison to sit up there, I think that's his name, and to say, well, we've been concerned about Luka's weight and his conditioning and all these things. And it's one thing if you weren't going to give him a Supermax as is, which apparently is what the case was, that the Supermax is just too much. They felt like it hinders the rest of the roster if you really do end up with a Supermax player comparatively to a regular max player. And they didn't feel like Luka could cover enough ground on both ends, which to me, say what you want. We can discuss all of that as we go down with the season. But they didn't believe that there's enough of what he's giving defensively when they're paying him that much to then fill the rest out.
Gotta play both sides of the ball, Luka.
I mean, it's like, and I guess what they're saying is we just don't have enough money to get good defenders out there who are going to also be able to play offense with you if we're giving you a Supermax. I don't know how the numbers work. I do know this. Usually when NBA teams want somebody, there's always a way to make it work. So that's why I do believe that there's also some extra stuff going on here. But to my original point, if you're going to tell me that Luka Doncic is out of shape and all these things and you're worried about his conditioning, why would you go get AD, who is the last man himself, who's literally the one guy who, if you get 60 games, you're like, we won.
Blessed.
We won. That's not even enough to be counted for the awards anymore. Okay? So, that part to me is where it voided everything Nico was saying. Yeah. And if you look on the face of all these guys, including Jason Kidd, you can tell nobody knew. I mean, that was, if there's one thing that I think has been truthful about all this, it's that I think nobody knew. I do think that somehow in some
How is that even possible, though? That, you could just orchestrate a trade with the league and, not everybody in the organization who should know does know.
Right.
How's that?
I mean, teams are fuming, right? Because the
Like
NBA
the Jazz said they didn't even know what was going on.
Everybody
They just
said
were
that.
like, "Yep, we were just part of the trade."
Yeah, they just got a call and they said, "Did you want to, add yourself into this last minute?" But I mean, all these teams are hella mad because nobody's ever seen a trade like this, where they've exclusively talked for over a month, and they've apparently been kind of looking at things like this for probably longer than that. But definitely for the last month, and nobody else was allowed in these talks. Nobody could top the offer the Lakers were going to potentially give. Nobody could, and that has never been seen. Like, who's not gonna? If you're gonna give up your guy, if you're gonna give up the golden goose, why aren't you taking the highest bidder? Why aren't you taking the highest bidder? Why? And that in itself is probably the main reason I go. Could be an Adam Silver masterclass here. So
maneuver. Finesse.
As we've told you, AD's already injured. He's going to be reevaluated in 2 weeks.
Down bad.
They're picketing outside the place. They've asked for returns on season tickets. They're burning jerseys. They want Nico Harrison on a.
It's not a good look.
On a stake.
It's not good out there.
It's just looking ugly. So let's bring it back to the yay. Let's bring it back closer to home as we get closer to talking about All-Star Weekend as well. It's only right to talk about the fact that the Warriors were able to bring Jimmy Buckets, none other than Jimmy Butler, to the Bay Area. How did you feel initially? And then we'll talk about what it's looking like now.
I was happy, or I don't want to say happy. It sucks to lose Andrew Wiggins, who was a good player for us. But in terms of how we're going right now, Jimmy Butler is more of a versatile player, in my opinion, within this offense. Doesn't help that we get shorter, but at the same time,
barely.
To not to dissuade from Jimmy Butler trade, but the fact that we didn't do any other moves kind of made it a sour taste, left a sour taste in my mouth, because I really felt like that would be essential moving forward. I love seeing how Quentin Post has been playing with the squad. He's been doing awesome, stretching the floor.
Thank you.
On the defensive side, it could use some work, but that's going to be over time. But I would have liked to see a couple guys, like, even just try to reach out for some names out there. Right. I feel like that maybe in G League at 10-day contract range that we could have potentially got. But with the guys we got now, I like the way that Jimmy Butler fits in and the way he's getting all these free throws for us and changing up just the way we're only shooting. He's somebody who can get to the bucket on pick and rolls. He can still muscle up against this guy and get a lot of and ones, and that's really been helping us. And with Steph spreading the floor, he's kind of just been a rover on offense and just setting back screens, cutting, doing whatever else is necessary, where I feel like Andrew Wiggins wasn't as active. He was just, hey, I'll wait till I get the ball, and then I'll do something. Or I might do a back cut. But in terms of creating more offense and creating movement, he wasn't really like that compared to what we've seen from Jimmy Butler so far, where he's kind of doing a little bit of everything and kind of like being a even more improved like GP role, where it's like, no, I can be like the 6'5" guy, 6'4" guy, and be getting buckets down low and be getting rebounds and banging down low. So it's been cool to see. So far, so good. But again, still feel like we still have big liability at the center position.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I think for me, I was super pumped off the trade.
We didn't lose much.
We did not lose a lot. For getting a guy like Jimmy, I really felt like we gave up the sweet spot. We, positionally, Andrew Wiggins wasn't going to be able to play anymore. Yeah. And once we get Jimmy Butler in there, where is his minutes if we don't get him off? And then also, of course, it matches up with the contract. So we all knew that was inevitable. I do really feel like I want to give a quick shout out to Andrew Wiggins. Yeah. Let's all remember the moment he had dunking on Luka in that young championship run, where it's a moment that there's only a couple moments that I vividly remember of, like, I'm jumping out of my chest.
He had two posters during that postseason.
Let's just honestly make sure we all, as Bay Areans, Bay-destrians, fans of the Warriors, do recall the impact that he had, specifically on that run, guarding the number one guys, and coming through with clutch 20-point games constantly, right? So shout out to you, Andrew Wiggins. Good luck with the Heat, my boy.
You, boy.
But man, you got a ring with us, so I can't feel bad, right? We got you what you need. We turned your career around. You did that as well with hard work.
Yeah.
Hope you best of luck with the Heat. But Jimmy is a different animal, right? This is a multi-time All-Star, right? This is a guy who perennially has taken underachievers, turned them to overachievers.
Yep.
This is a guy who is known across the league as a dog of dogs. Somebody that you would take with you in a dark alley, if you need a can't miss him, a can't stop him, I need him right now. That's a Jimmy Butler. And one of the biggest things for me that I love as well is Jimmy Butler is known for being clutch.
Yeah.
Right? He's one of these guys in clutch moments that he just locks in. He's just not scared of the moment on either end. And he's, like you said, so versatile that I think he brings a bigger version and an offensive version of what we've always dreamed kind of out of GP, right? Where it's this guy who's not scared of anything, who will guard anybody, and who kind of brings an extra beef to these smaller lineups when we know we're going to be small regardless. But he's a guy that makes you feel a little bigger even when you're not. Jimmy Butler is so much that way.
Yeah.
He is so much a guy that you feel his presence physically that we will feel like a bigger team. Now, do I agree we should have made some more moves? Yes. Do I think that we're smart? Do I think that we're smart for not overhauling something out for the wrong guy? Yes.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't want to overpay for Vucevic, and I personally believed he was pretty much the only guy that we felt comfortable going to get who I felt like would have moved the needle. Like, I'm not interested in a Nurkic. I'm not interested in those guys. Like, it's not that I won't take them, but when we're talking about giving out assets, like, I'm not willing to give a lot, especially with what's coming up this next offseason. Lots of guys, lots of turmoil across the league. You got to keep your books somewhat free, and we are in a position where, we do still have Jimmy, Steph, and Dre locked down. But the reality is, if the right guy comes up, I think we all know Dre could be on the move, right? And we that'd be hard pill to swallow. Dre, I love you. And we all see Dre's value, right? Dre's value this year is he's really showing it. I mean, he's the top defender, I think, in the league in terms of just that ability to guard on ball, right? Maybe not, the overall everything you need in defense. But when we're talking about any guy that you put in front of him and he's standing here making it hard, I think he's right there with anybody. So he could move if somebody big really came out. But, I'm saying all that to say, if we need to keep our treasure trove for the right move.
Yeah,
we're at a point now by getting Jimmy that we're one really right move away from, I think, being right back in feel-good ball.
Yeah,
and in true contention land, right? And so I think that the front office knows that. They realized we kind of got Jimmy Butler for a bag of chips. And so now we got to be smart about the rest of these assets. We still have everything, right? And so I'm ecstatic with it, and I became even more ecstatic when 10 minutes after the deal, he signed a 3-year extension.
Yeah.
Right? So before we move forward, let's also just give a quick synopsis overview of how we think he's fit in so far.
I think he's fit in well. In terms of big men, I agree. I don't feel like we should have, shelled out too much more. Maybe there was somebody still in free agency or something that I feel like is out there that we could have picked up. Or a buyout or something.
We might get a buyout.
But totally happy with this Jimmy Butler trade so far. Love the assets that we got rid of. I loved Andrew Wiggins, like you said, for the run. But as of right now, the way he's been playing, it's kind of hasn't been fitting the way our offense needs to run to be as productive as it needs to be.
Yeah, I agree. I think that he's become what Dre and Steph needed, right? Like, they both needed a break in certain areas, and I think Jimmy just gives them that break.
Right, he does a little bit of both. It's like,
yeah,
Steph, I need somebody else to score too. Oh, okay, I'm Jimmy. I can do that.
I got you.
Dre, I need somebody else to play hard defense against everybody. Oh, okay, cool. Now we got you. All right.
And then them both are like, oh, I need somebody else to facilitate for a second, so I'm not throwing dumb passes.
Right.
Don't worry, I got that too. Right, and so like I truly believe that where we're going to see the biggest difference, and maybe why I'm the most happy, is I don't know if you've heard us talking about it, but we've been in the most close clutch games all year. We have been in the most across the league. And there's only one other team that I think it's even remotely similar to us, and I think that's the Clippers, I want to say, if I'm remembering correctly.
Norman Powell, shout out.
But, like, let's be real here. Those games were about 500, maybe a little over, maybe a little under.
Mm-hmm.
With a guy like Jimmy Butler, I think we're looking like,
over.
Yeah, I think we're looking 8 games over 500 type of thing, of a swing if we had him the whole year.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we're now looking at that, looking towards the future, that's what maybe excites me the most about that pickup, is he's truly a guy that handles clutch time amazingly and makes the difference in those moments. And we're the team that's going to be there the most. So, man, I think that, this is a match made in heaven in a lot of senses, and let's just hope we can continue and that they stay healthy and that we continue to build around them. But I love that core, right? And I think we got a lot more aggressive and scary to deal with now that we've added Jimmy, because that's another true dog.
That's a star.
And we got Steph as 2. And that's the last thing I'll end it on. Is, like you said, I truly do not believe Andrew Wiggins was capable of being a 2. He's capable of a lot of other things, just not a 2. And we finally got Steph, that 2 we've been looking for. And I think that we've seen it make wonders of a difference for Steph. I mean, Steph is now on fire. So shout outs to you, Dunleavy. We've been on your neck a lot, but I'll give you props for that, for pulling it off. And let's hope you can continue pushing with a string of successful moves to add to this. NBA weekend, that's what we're going to talk about. NBA All-Star weekend is what we'll really talk about. And that was in the Bay Area.
Yeah, hometown, baby.
So nice, easy slide from Jimmy on into the All-Star weekend. I went to some events, the NBA crossover events out here. Super awesome in the city. Lots of things going on. Victor Wembanyama, some real notable names were out there. Gary Payton, a bunch of guys doing, stop by meet and greets. I got to go ahead and dribble the airless Wilson ball.
Oh, yeah.
That was really cool. That thing cost $2,500. So not a ball you'd be taking to the park.
I mean,
unless you want boys in the hood.
How did it feel? Was it cool?
Oh, it was super cool. Like it was the weirdest.
Felt like a real hoop rock or what? Yeah.
But it was really weird. Like to not hear anything was weird. Like I'm very used to a bounce.
Yeah.
That was awkward. And then the grip is the only thing that I will say is like even more than a basketball. You're like, yo, like, yeah, it feels like a Nike commercial. You're like,
balls attached to the fans.
Yes. Yeah.
On a string.
I definitely suggest, if you get an opportunity, if they're doing a pop-up anytime, wait in that line, as long as it's not ridiculous, but it's worth it. I mean, it's just a weird moment, and I'm not going to pay $2,500 for the ball, so I want that moment. And I had it, and it was fun. And then there was lots of other things, little shoot-around things we played. There was a couple different shoot-around events, and then a bunch of stores, and a bunch of, like we said, meet and greets. And then they had full courts in there. So there was 4 NBA-sized courts.
Oh, okay.
And there was different activities going on throughout the day. There was a G League tournament that happened at one point, little dunk contest that happened at one point. Ball is Life was there, so they were doing their thing at one point. So it was very cool. A well-done event at the Moscone Center. I think that's how they say it, the Moscone Center.
Yeah, Moscone.
It was tight. So my experience was fun. I got a nice little jacket from it that I'll be able to remember as a token of the event. You guys definitely need to check out. We have some shorts on the channel where I'm in there, giving you guys a little host feel of what's going on.
Yeah.
We might even try to be there next year for LA just because, it was nice to get a feel for how those events work. And, if Say Something is able to be, we're going to be in the building. It's just a must. So let's talk a little bit about what happened, because it's not a lot to talk about. Besides the fact that it was out here and it was fun, dunk contest winner, we have Mac McClung, 3-time winner now. So he is absolutely renaming this event after himself. Versus pretty much nobody else.
Who was it?
I don't even remember.
Montes
Bazulis, but I just know they were all garbage. Like truly watching it. Let me just.
Was Jaren Jackson?
No, he was before Jalen, and I was shocked with him. Let me see. It was Stephen Castle,
Okay.
Andre Jackson, and who was the dude you just said?
Matis
Buzelis versus Mac McClung.
Buzelis.
So not a lot going on.
Not really any competition for him.
But nothing.
We want to see the All-Stars, not just like anybody who's out there. That's the whole point of All-Star Weekend, not just to put randoms out there. There's guys who are actual All-Stars, actual future Hall of Famers that can dunk, that do it before games, pre-game, all the time. What do you have to lose? I've never, like, injuries or something, or like the ego hit from not winning.
Right.
I haven't seen the story yet. They haven't had the 30 for 30 on guys who didn't win the slam dunk contest lose contracts with all NBA sponsors and everything. Like, what is the downfall? I haven't even seen somebody get hurt in an NBA dunk contest. So, or a 3-point contest or a skill challenge. Why would you make a skill challenge and then put Chris Paul in it when he's always going to try and cheat and do stupid stuff and make it not
make
fun
up a new game
for anybody? I mean, I don't know. It's just too many too much trying to change events up and make things different when really just put the stars in it and make it about them. Like, that's why you're there. You guys need to put on a performance for everybody. Like, it's not like some monkey dance type stuff, but it's just like, no, we appreciate you guys for being the best. Now play a really good game. Right. That's it.
Right.
Like we hear other pundits say, we see them warming up in the summer league harder than they play in the All-Star Weekend.
For sure.
And don't get me wrong, I understand that it's in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
But, like, is it really, like, that hard? You got a couple other days off, too, to chill and relax. Like,
right.
Is it that hard to just sweat it up a little bit? Like, you ain't even got to play more than, 20 minutes? Like, there's enough of you guys. Like, just rotate. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, maybe we just complain as fans, but aren't we the ones you're trying to do it for?
That's true. I mean, yeah, so Mac, obviously, congrats to you, but, that contest is dead. The 3-point contest might be the best thing they have going still just because people are somewhat in it, but even that isn't, great to watch. It's not people that are putting up the craziest scores ever, but Tyler Hero won it this year over Buddy Hield, so congrats to him. And then, the All-Star Weekend had a new format, so it was like a round robin with 3 teams, I think it was. NBA
and then the
players,
Rising Stars.
We're the champion team that was meant to, make everybody play hard. But the reality is people weren't interested in it, and the players really complained about having breaks, which I feel them on that.
Yeah,
having breaks in between and then being asked to come back out and play. Nah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So the NBA, along with the players, you guys are both messing the product up right now. I think it's very clear you need to go international versus USA. If you want to rev the engines and really give people something to ball about, line that up, and those guys will have enough to talk about. There's enough good basketball players on the world team now for the U.S. to be very concerned. That's a conversation Mitch and I can break down on another episode of what we think if that format were to come to life.
Yeah.
What would these rosters look like, and what would we think that matchup would be like? But I mean, it doesn't take long for you to figure out the majority, if not all, of the last, I think, 5-6 years of MVPs has been internationals.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not like the U.S. is sitting at the top of the NBA at all times right now. So I think that's the way you guys go. Adam Silver, if you want to give a call into the Say Something show, we can do some more advising for a pretty little penny. But, you got to change the direction. You're killing the product, and you can see it with the rest of the players. Now, the last thing that I will say is, and this is something that we may bring up at another point just because I think it's a lengthy conversation ahead, but, is this LeBron's fault? And the reason I say this, let me give it context, is he's the first true superstar to participate in nothing. And to also really, never go super hard even in the All-Star game. I'm not mad at the All-Star game because I think they've been killing the product for a long time. But, LeBron, that the torch was in your hand for the dunk contest. And you killed that. It's like, nobody would be able to say, "Oh, I'm not going to give it a shot," if you had given it a shot. But because you have let it on, talked about it a little bit here and there, and then gotten to a point where we all know now you're too old to even, come on, we're not even going to ask you. There's a lot of people that can fall into that shadow and not trip, right? And so that's something to be talked about. I thought about the other day, I know LeBron fans, you're going to be looking at the channel, oh my God, I want to kill Benny. Don't worry, there'll be plenty of time for you to get that when we come to LA next year. But until then, take a long thought about it. For real. And put in the comments if you think I'm tripping. That's okay. I can take those. But I think I got a valid point. And so I'd love to start a conversation in the comments. Mitch and I will probably double back on it if we do see that going down. We'll make sure we jump and add both of our opinions into whatever the running conversation is. But think about it. I think that it's a bigger conversation than most people think in terms of the impact.
There's truth to it.
And yeah, I think there's validity behind it. So last thing before we move on to the NFL, Wembanyama, the alien, the freak, the 7-3er himself, just been announced today, out for the year. I don't even know exactly what the extent of the injury was. I believe it was like
blood clot in the shoulder.
Right shoulder, right?
Yeah.
Which makes you think, how long have they known about this?
Deep vein thrombosis in his right shoulder, the medical terms.
And, Mans was just out there at the All-Star event. So, I don't know. I'll say is it makes me wonder if they're tanking.
Yeah,
that's all I'm going to say is that, those are smart dudes over there. Now, it doesn't make sense for you to trade for De'Aaron and then also think that would help with the tank. But you get Victor out the way. That team is butt. You know what I mean? With De'Aaron, without De'Aaron, that team is just not a winning team. And
while currently at this moment beating the Suns right now.
Which says more about the Suns.
Yeah.
But that's the first thing that came to my head. Very similar to my plotting on Adam Silver is, those guys are smart in San Antonio. And I know they're trying to get as much resources as they can to help Vic for the long run. And I think that they know it ain't going to be cheap. So I think that they know that your best shot almost to do it sustainably is going to be through the draft of getting some gems. Because the more you're signing out of free agency, the quicker that pocketbook starts looking fat, right? So that's all I got on that. Let's hope the Spurs aren't tanking, because if so, shame on you. And for taking us away from seeing Wembanyama, shame on you 2 times. But if it's the truth, then hey, get well, better, and soon, all of the above right now. I said that wrong still, but, we want you back mending ASAP. So hopefully the recovery is quick. That's what I meant to say.
The Spurs will have a long way to go, as they are 23-29, and Washington Wizards are 9-45.
Yeah, no, they're not going to get the one. They're not going to get the one, but they were on trajectory to get a 20 pick, maybe.
Yeah.
And now it's like you shake that back to a lottery for sure. Probably going to be a 14, a whoop. And I think that they still have the Hawks or somebody dumb's pick. So it's like you get that one lower, and you start getting a little more into the range of we trading up. So get better soon, my boy, if that's the truth. Otherwise, you guys are swindling the league, and I don't want to talk anymore about it. On to the NFL. Super Bowl. I know this is another big event similar to the Luka thing. At the end, we'll give little opportunities for both him and I to add in potential other trades, because we know you guys, probably are like, you talked about Luka and Jimmy. What the hell? But those you guys all know were the biggest. That's as big as it gets.
Marquee names.
Those are the marquees. So on to the NFL. Super Bowl. We had the Eagles spanking the Chiefs. Talk a little bit about it.
It just wasn't even a game. It was
At all.
A reversal
of
fortunes for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Boy, love it.
It kind of just looked like a case of where the burnt out team who's won this 2 times in a row, and you guys have a little more fight. You guys came with a little more fight. Eagles, we came in trying to feel it out, take it easy, and the Eagles had the foot on the gas from the very get-go, and the defense, like I was saying, looked like the Chiefs defense had been looking against all these other teams, where it's just like every single play we are at your quarterback's face and making them scared to even drop back in 3 steps.
Yeah.
Like that was the most I feel like I've seen Patrick Mahomes be like antsy in the pocket, not knowing what to do after missing the first read, or if the first or second read isn't there. He was getting sacked all over the place, and usually he's the type to maneuver, get the ball out somehow, or even just get 5 or 6 yards to make it a short second and short or third and short. But this time, the pocket collapsed on him every single time. It seemed like every throw he made. I mean, he made 2 interceptions back to back that were just like, those guys were sitting right there the whole time. Like, clearly you were thinking about the guys running after you and missed the guys that were out there 100%. Waiting to intercept you. Because
100%.
Cooper DeJean and then Bond got the other interception. That was
Bond.
Just threw it right to him. So it was just crazy change of events for the Kansas City Chiefs, but I know they're not tripping because they're probably just going to revamp up and be ready for the next season with Pat Mahomes and be in the same kind of position. And then Saquon and the Eagles, I mean, it's great to see him get his championship right after the Giants. Clearly it was you, Giants. Clearly it was you. So, I mean, it's great to see him have a crazy, great season and then cap it all off with the championship, and seeing them in the parade has been pretty cool. So I'm not a huge fan of the Eagles or the Chiefs, so I wasn't too invested in it, but I'd rather see the Eagles win, like we said in episodes before. We'd rather see the Eagles win than the Chiefs.
100%. Yeah, I mean, that was a perfect sum up. I won't put too much into it other than saying hard to ever root for the Eagles, but I'll just say it this way. I'm happy the Chiefs lost. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, and I'm happy for Saquon. Very similar to where I was before this game. Not a lot's going to change. But congrats to Saquon, second running back ever to win the Super Bowl, Offensive Player of the Year, and the rushing title all in the same year. So that is what you call balling. And for all you New York fans, including my cousin and cousins, actually plural, apologies. You guys got to watch something nice for a while. But this is just another real sign that you guys just can't have anything nice. You know what I mean? It's just, it ain't in the cards.
Will you get Cam Ward?
And give him away for a bag of chips.
We'll see.
Malik Neighbors watch for everybody who needs a receiver. You know what I mean? I'm just playing with y'all. But all jokes aside, on to the next season. I'm just glad that 2-peat is now done. It won't be a 3-peat. Good luck to the Chiefs trying to get back to the top of that mountain after a loss.
Yeah.
I know you guys will be motivated, whatever that means. And I know Travis Kelce, I think, has decided he's going to give it another go, which is big for y'all. But that offense, was never pretty this whole year. And they were riding that defense all year long. And they truly ran into, like you said, a better defense, at least on that day. Definitely bigger, and a defense that was able to get pressure on Patrick Mahomes, rushing 4 guys all game. That's insane. And it's a pretty good offensive line usually. So that really shows there was wars being won in the trenches early on, and they never got get back. All right, on to the 2 hometown teams, as we always do before we leave the NFL. We got the Raiders. The hot stew in the pot lately has been the name Sam Darnold. They've been trying to cook him up as the next future Raider quarterback, and as a guy that Pete Carroll would love to get on a 3-year. I think they were saying somewhere around 120 mil is what I was hearing. But 3-year, 120 mil, which I don't believe is a max, but boy, it's got to be somewhere close. How do you feel about that? Darnold obviously had an amazing year with the Minnesota Vikings last year before kind of being a journeyman after unsuccessful spells with the Jets and the Carolina Panthers early on.
I think this is something that the Raiders should definitely keep in their back pocket. We got a draft coming up. Let's see how things unfold with the first couple of picks in front of us. If it doesn't roll out where we can get one of these top 2 quarterbacks, and we want to wait till later rounds to get a quarterback if they're already drafted, I think getting somebody like Sam Darnold would be a solid pick for the Raiders. he's somebody who I think is just good at getting the guys the ball, which is something that we've really lacked from our last few quarterbacks, where it's just like, we just need you to get it to our playmakers.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Understand this line. The quarterbacks we've had before just haven't had good cohesion with even the receivers or the offensive line. So I think he would be somebody who could come in and command an offense as a veteran and somebody who really showed out when he was with the Vikings. And I think he would have some good receivers, especially like a Brock Bowers.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't go with the quarterback in the draft first overall, potentially a wide receiver or somebody to be a complement to him to help him out. And then maybe getting some run game for sure.
I mean,
because we are absolute zero at the run game. So definitely would need to add that on if we were to get a top quality free agent quarterback such as Sam Darnold. But definitely, I think more of a back pocket for me, in my opinion. I think we should really try and get one of these top quarterbacks in the draft and go off of that. But I think he's a great second option, especially compared to the two when we had Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell.
What about taking the Falcons approach? What would you think about that if you guys were this year's Falcons, where it's like, go sign him. I mean, you never know how the draft's going to end up.
Mm-hmm.
Inevitably, he'll probably be gone before the draft.
Yeah.
I mean, this is one of the top names. So, like, waiting until after the draft for arguably the best quarterback on the market probably just ain't it. Do you say yay or nay to the idea of putting him on the roster regardless? Going into this year, he's going to be the starter. And, you know, if Shedeur ends up falling in your lap, you get that long decision of, do we add him as well? Do we pick him up right now and put him on? Or do we maybe add a McMillan at receiver?
I feel like it's a really tough position to be in if we sign him. Or, I mean, I get what you're saying. We're probably going to have to do it before the draft. But in reality, I feel like that would just be tough. He's 27 years old. So I feel like he's somebody you would sign to be that guy for the next, 8 to 9 years and not have somebody behind him. I think Kirk Cousins, he's already in his 30s.
Oh, for sure.
So that's like a little bit easier of a transition of somebody going from Kirk Cousins to Michael Penix, whereas Sam Darnold's looking for the big bucks. But then if we have somebody who's like, no, I'm supposed to be like a franchise guy right behind him, that's just going to leave a lot. I feel like that'll be very divisive and just make it tough, because especially if either of them, because I feel like both are very polarizing. Mm-hmm. Both bring a lot to the game, more than just playing the quarterback position. They have their own persona and their own like whole team behind them.
Brand and everything.
Yeah, their own brand and everything. So I feel like it would be tough because those guys are going to expect to play. Mm-hmm. I don't think either of them would be guys who I want to come in and be a backup. Mm-hmm. Like, maybe I feel like the only person Shedeur would be a backup to would be Tom Brady.
Right.
So, I get that would be something that we would have to face, because that's the only way we could probably get Sam Darnold. But I think that would just put us in a tough situation where we need to cool down the waters. We don't need more rocky ships in the Raider organization. So
right.
I get that might need to happen, but I feel like that would be really, really tough for just in the locker room and everything and the decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be hard. I think that, if it's a 3-year contract, I could see it, just because that'll take him to 30, and that's what the expectation that he'll get another contract regardless of where he's going to play, but then he'll have an expectation of one more big contract. Mm-hmm. And so it would just be a case of, can you get a 3-year contract that has an out after 2 years kind of thing, where it's both sides decide, hey, you're ready to hit the market again, da-da-da-da. And then, you propose it. You do have Tom Brady on the unit. So mm-hmm. Tom Brady could propose to Shedeur, hey, our team's not good enough. We don't want to put you out here and let you just shit the bed and have it be because we're not putting anybody good around you. So let us get right. We're going to get some other guys around you. We'll let them develop, and you'll learn from Darnold. And as soon as he pulls a Kirk Cousins, we're out of there on him. Mm-hmm. And we're going to put you in there. And maybe they don't have to tell that to Sam Darnold. But if I'm the Raiders, that's what I do. Just coming from the situation where we've seen how easy it is to walk away with nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you could be walking in and thinking, oh, I don't want the problem of dealing with both. But it's like I'd rather that problem than dealing with none.
I also feel like if we were to get Sam Darnold, it'd be us thinking, hey, maybe we're not totally sold on these two quarterbacks that are the rookies coming in.
Right.
And maybe there is somebody 2 or 3 years down the line that's like, maybe we can wait on that. And if Sam Darnold doesn't work out, then we can rely on the guys 2 or 3 years down the line. Or he works out and we don't even need that guy.
At all, because he's 27.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep, absolutely. So I think, like you said, I would take it out of my back pocket and put it in my front pocket. But I think that it is a good move to have in your pocket, regardless of what pocket.
I mean, if he wants to come, that's nice.
Right.
Not a lot of people always want to come to the Raiders.
Right, for real. But I mean, I think that I do think that the stability of your guys' off-season signings is doing well for you guys in the perception of your organization and free agency, at least.
Having Brock Bowers helps too.
That for sure. That for sure. Because there's no running back.
No.
So
we need that too.
Good
guys.
Lord.
Don't forget about that.
Get Cam Scatterbo immediately.
Immediately.
Niners, we got the good old Niners. We have Debo, who requested a trade. This is the second time in 2 years. If you guys remember, 2022, Debo as well requested a trade. Maybe that's 3 years now, whatever. This time it's real. I can tell you guys, no doubt, this time it's happening. I'll be shocked if he's on the team by the start of the year.
Ooh.
Shocked. I will be shocked. But I'm okay with it, and I love Debo. I love Debo. I love what he's brought. But I always knew with where we were headed, and after we drafted Ricky, that this day would come. Mm-hmm. And I it was just a matter of how productive will he be to fend off that doomsday.
Yeah.
And I knew after this year, he did too much Deboing. And what I mean by that is there was too many ins and out of the lineup. We had injuries across the board elsewhere, but to me, it proved that he needs the other guys, maybe more than any of the other guys need him. And that's a sad scenario to say, and that has nothing to do with how good Debo is. Debo is a baller. It just has to do with situationally. We have guys. If you saw what Juwan Jennings did this year, he made more of the opportunities that he had than even a guy like Debo, who you would think would then be our de facto number one. But the reality is the way he plays and all the versatility that he brings to the table also takes away from his ability to be a bona fide one. And you saw that when we needed it last year. You need a straight difference maker, somebody that Jamar chasing it, just stand alone. I'm here. I'm just going to do something to you. He proved last year that those days might be behind him. It may not be that we don't see big plays from him for the rest of his career. I'm not saying that. I do think that there'll be here and there big plays that'll be sprinkled in there. I just think that the week in and week out impact of Debo being a guy who is standalone a game changer, I think is done. And I think that we're paying him as such. Yeah. And so I think that there are other teams that can utilize that will be able to restructure. They'll be able to use him in tremendous ways, and somebody's going to get a steal. I mean, I think at the end of the day, I think our max is going to get a day 3 pick, maybe a day 2 pick. I think somebody will get a steal for that price, and that's totally fine. And I also am fine with where we're at roster-wise. I love Ricky. I'm super excited to see him next year. I think he's going to be a baller. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with his game, it's going to be a lot of what Debo brought to the table. But just think everywhere where you were like, ooh, Debo is so good rushing, just add that on to the receiving game of what Ricky brings to the table. And that's what you can expect in terms of his versatility and the excitement that he's going to bring to that offense. I think he's more of a missing piece in terms of what Brock Purdy needs now, assuming our running game is what our running game can be. But at the end of the day, you're not going to want to pay a guy to be a partial running back, and really be leaning on that anything other than splash plays. Super, minute.
And those have been less and less.
And those exactly. And they've been needed more and more because it's like we're sitting here with running back 8. You know what I mean? And some Debo's in there. So anyway, if it is Debo's last, I mean, he has been a Niner through and through, just an awesome dude. Always having Niners back, just a loyal teammate. I can't really say anything bad about him. And he is one of those guys that I really do wish the best for him wherever he goes. And I hope he finds a situation where he can be productive, where
Yeah.
they're going to use him as Debo. I've heard talks of a bunch of stuff. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, the Raiders need so much help elsewhere that I'd be sad if he went over there just because it's like,
Nah, don't do it.
yeah, bro. He's the type of guy you need to like top off an offense that's like you're already a good offense. He's gonna be brought in to just make it like
you guys don't even want
that much
McCaffrey
better.
anymore. Just give us McCaffrey.
No,
while
see
he's
now
going
that's
out.
right.
You
See
know what
now
I'm saying?
now we're just getting crazy.
You know what I'm saying? Just
now
you guys don't even want him.
Now we're just talking
so
about
many guys back there.
Now we're just talking about an absolute UNICEF
so just
donation
give us,
right there.
You know, give us McCaffrey on one leg.
That is a goodwill trade proposal right there. Let me give you a sweater for C-Mac. So anyway, that's the update on the Niners. I will, just as Mitch will, keep you updated on our off seasons as they continue, and as we get closer on to the season starting again, even though it just ended. We have MLB. Quick update before we wrap things up today.
From the last time we talked, we got some guys moving. We had Boston scooping up Walker Buehler and getting Alex Bregman. They're having a great offseason over there.
Man.
I think they also got Aroldis Chapman for the Red Sox. So they're really ramping up. They got some guys who are trying to come back and prove it after having some injury years. So that's exciting to see. But spring training just began. So teams are really starting to ramp up, starting to see some of these young guys in there, seeing how long they can last in camp, seeing what kind of impression they can make.
Right.
But just stay tuned for some shorts. I'm going to be going position by position, telling you guys who are the top guys, some guys who are the top prospects coming in, and then some guys who are just waiting to get their shot at the MLB and not quite making it yet, but they're stars in the making.
Absolutely. So be on the lookout for that. And obviously, as you're getting ready for fantasy baseball, Mitch is going to have you held down.
Oh, yeah.
So pay attention to those positional videos because you're going to get some gems for who to be looking out for as well as you're making your draft board, right?
Big time.
Lastly, I did say that we were finishing with that, but I forgot. For you hockey fans, there is the Nations Face-Off, and the championship just happened. Canada actually defeated the United States 3-2, but apparently it was a really, really good tournament. And as we all know, anytime U.S. plays Canada in hockey, it's an absolute grudge match, an absolute war of warriors, and it looks like this game was no different. So if you hadn't been able to check out, just go look at some highlights either from tonight or the rest of the tournament. And if you did already check it out, then we're telling you nothing new. But we just wanted to make sure that we were all on the ice as well.
Yeah.
Whenever there's a big event, we'll try to touch on it if we can. So another week in the books. We're happy we could catch y'all up after being a little behind.
Good to be back.
This was a little sporadic here because it covered, several weeks of action. But we're going to be back next week, next Thursday. Ready to go. We appreciate you guys understanding. So don't forget, like, comment, and subscribe.
Yes, sir.
Keep the algorithms messing with us because we mess with y'all. So we need it to be mutual. We'll see y'all next week. Peace, love, and happiness from the Say Something crew. We out.